if you're just doing it in order to be a fucking pedophile groomer creep, then yeah, that's a major problem, you know? Like, he could have just been the famous animator guy. The same thing with the Ren and Stimpy dude who did the exact same thing as this. The Ren and Stimpy guy groomed a whole bunch of girls. Yes, girls, young girls as old as like 13, 14, 15 years old to like, you know, come hang out and learn how to animate and stuff. And of course people are like, holy shit, you're the creator of Ren and Stimpy? You're trying to teach me this stuff? Sure, I don't feel like I'm going to be molested by you in the process. So, there has been a few recent scandals coming out, mostly involving a similar theme of men in positions of power, utilizing their platform and fame to pursue and go after their fans, including their underage fans. Now, that's clearly something that we've already seen happening with Channel 5's Andrew Callahan, and more stories seem to be coming out. If you missed it, yesterday there was a story about how someone has accused Andrew Callahan of stealthing in addition to everything else, and has also iterated and been very clear about this, that alcohol was not involved in that incident. Also, with Justin Roiland, when it comes to Rick and Morty, I've said before, like, you know, I enjoy Rick and Morty. I enjoyed the first season quite a bit when it was kind of a nothing, like it wasn't a phenomenon, a cultural phenomenon, and then it seemed within like a year and a half, it became one, and then all of a sudden it went from being like, oh, that's kind of a fun episode to like, oh, the Szechuan sauce, I'm Pickle Rick, and then all this nonsense, and the fans effectively destroyed this show and property for me. But anyways, I'm a big Dan Harmon fan, have been for a long time, enjoyed Community, and Dan Harmon, if you didn't know, came out and in my opinion gave probably one of the best examples of someone seeking restorative justice for an action they had committed. Dan Harmon had tried to start a relationship with one of his subordinates while he was working on the set of Community multiple times, and obviously wanted to have a sexual relationship with her as well, and she refused him knowing full well that she could have risked something pertaining to her work if that was done. He came forward about it and said, by the way, I want to admit to this. I did this. This is what I did. This is why I was wrong, and this is why I'm going to be working towards making sure that this not only doesn't happen, in any way, shape, or form involving my productions, but in the industry as a whole. I want to work to making people aware of this. I utilize my position of power to try and take advantage of someone, and I'm going to work towards bettering myself and bettering the situation. What you want. You know, that's kind of what you want and expect. I'm not someone who's sitting here looking for a certain quantity of blood or tears, you know, like, oh, Andrew Callahan sure didn't cry enough. If he only cried enough, that would probably be better. I want to see him suffer. I would rather people who respect and admire these kind of figures would see that as what you should do, is admit to what you've done and then work towards restoring or ameliorating the conditions of people that you may have harmed, as well as other people who could be harmed by the same process. There you go. So Justin Roiland comes along, and turns out Justin Roiland's involved in a handful of things. Assault and battery, I think, was one of them. I should pull up that article, Justin, because this is prior to what we're going to talk about today, which is, unfortunately, grooming. He was domestic abuse as well. Yeah, Rick and Morty co-creator Justin Roiland awaits trial for domestic violence against his ex-girlfriend. Roiland has pleaded not guilty to charges from May 2020. Justin Roiland, who co-created the animated series Rick and Morty, provides the voices of the two title characters, is awaiting trial on charges of felony domestic violence against a former girlfriend. A criminal complaint obtained Thursday by the Associated Press for prosecutors in Orange County. So when this comes out, obviously it makes headlines, makes some news, and a lot of people I saw online were kind of like, yeah, this was a well-known industry secret, but no one talked about it. And I was yet again a case of the industry protecting men in powerful positions of power rather than holding them accountable, or at least letting people even know that they were aware of what was happening. And it turns out it's so much worse. So we're going to get into the story, or I guess multiple accusations now, of grooming underage fans dropping into their DMs, similar to the creator of Ren and Stimpy, who was doing the same thing. People who are huge fans of animation, cartoons, who are also young girls, happen to be contacted by these creators, and they tried to start a sexual relationship with them, which is grooming. That's what grooming is, by the way, Tim Pool. That's, yeah. So we're talking about straight up grooming. Someone, when I originally was like, holy fuck, Justin Roiland is accused, multiple accusations of grooming, linked to this, and they're like, do you know the original Rick and Morty is actually kind of yikesy? The whole thing was kind of just indie cartoon made by Justin Roiland, where it's just basically Back to the Future, but what if, the doc raped the other character. That's kind of, it's just like, that's the running gag over and over. It's like, Morty, we gotta do this thing, Morty. Oh, I need you right now. You gotta help me, Morty. He's like, oh, what do I do? It's like, oh, you gotta suck my dick, Morty. I know you don't want to, but it's the only way, Morty. You gotta suck my dick. If you don't believe me, I was gonna play like 2 seconds of this. I'm gonna turn off the video because he does pull his balls out in the scene.
All right, Doc, I'm back. I got my boots. I'm excited. Let's go. Let's get out of here. Marty, we have a problem. The time travel car won't start. Oh no! What can we do? What are we gonna do? My chapped, bloody testicles, Marty. What? You want me to lick them? Yes, Marty. It's the only way to fix our time travel car. You have to lick my balls, Marty. The saliva needs to be warm and fresh, and it must be administered by your tongue, Marty. But I don't understand.
It's basically that over and over and over. That was like the same joke that just goes in, like, it's like, okay, new scenario. It's like, oh, you gotta save us, Morty. The only thing you can do, you gotta eat my ass, Morty. Like, oh, I don't want to. You gotta do it. It's the only way, Morty. And then they show it. And so that was like the original kind of concept behind it before it actually like blew up. Rick and Morty creator Justin Roiland accused of grooming as domestic violence charges surface. So the domestic charges surface, and lo and behold, a whole bunch of girls, teenagers, and women are like, oh wow, now I feel safe telling my story and coming out about this, and the floodgates once again have opened up. It's such a predictable, disappointing cycle. It seems that every few weeks we hear about a beloved or once beloved creator being accused of sexual misconduct or being charged with a serious felony. Not to sound jaded or anything, but it's almost like the rite of passage these days for not liking anyone with even a slight amount of fame attached to their name. In this case, I'm talking about Justin Roiland, the creator of and the most prominent voice actor in Rick and Morty. As per the court and a fantastic legal explainer from our own Lisa Dunn, in 2020, Roiland was charged with 1 felony count of domestic battery with corporal injury and 1 felony count of false imprisonment by menace, violence, fraud, and or deceit. In other words, during January 2020, Roiland allegedly struck his ex-girlfriend with such severity that she needed medical care, and then he prevented her from leaving their shared home. So fucking horrifying. Many of the details remain murky, making it difficult to explicitly comment on the incident. As it stands, the victim acquired a restraining order against Roiland in October 2020. We're only hearing about this now because the trial kept being pushed back, but Roiland finally attended a pre-trial hearing this week. Additional allegations now surface. All of the above is awful and hellish enough, especially considering how long it typically takes for victims to see their abusers held accountable. In light of the domestic abuse charges, multiple people have come forward, this time with allegations of grooming. If you're sensitive to this kind of content, I'd advise skipping these tweets as some are relatively graphic. Justin Roiland has a track record of using social media to hit up and exploit vulnerable people and minors, and I believe this is an open secret in the industry. He used my sexual trauma and my love for Rick and Morty to groom me, and I'm just one of so many. I'm so glad this is now becoming public. This was literally his response to me telling him about my childhood sexual trauma. At the time, he was drunk and we were just getting to know each other. In context, with all the other information out there now, yes, he is absolutely a fucking insane creep. Justin Roiland, I am not blah 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 experienced. I've never really been in a consensual situation. I've only ever been used and I'm a little lost. I want to own my sexuality now, but I'm afraid of being objectified and things are very hard for me. Oh no, that's heartbreaking. You know what? You will get to own it and enjoy it. You just need to be with someone who puts your pleasure at the same level as theirs. Not gonna lie, I have kinks around what you just said, but I'm also so focused on my partner's pleasure, often above my own. I am open about my trauma, I always have been, but to use that vulnerability and influence you have on someone who told you your work helped them with your sexual trauma, am I the only one of hundreds? It's his pattern, and everyone affected deserves to be heard. Adding this here as well, he spent a year building a relationship with me and manipulating me into thinking he's just a flawed, troubled person with a good heart. I have zero reason to doubt he's capable of every type of violence. For anybody wondering if he's capable of being manipulative, scary, and coercive, this is how he talked to me after telling me he loves me and cares about me. For context, this topic was me going through mental health crisis and being suicidal. Very normal behavior. Justin, your ex, the girl you told me about, do you talk about her? Did you talk to her about the stuff? Not anymore, but we did, yeah. What's her Instagram? I want to spy on her. Why? Oh my god. I want to see if she's like a good person. Don't. It's private anyway. She's an extremely good person. I need to see what type of people to have around you. Okay, share her Insta. Let me see. I have wonderful people. Okay, let's start with her. I don't know if she would be comfortable with that. We haven't been in contact. Great excuse. Interesting. I can assure you she's the kindest, most genuine person. Something to hide? Lol, no. Like, for real. Then what's her Insta? I'm not the cops. I'm a pretty good person. I know, but it's private. So what? If you send her a follow request, she won't be okay. I'm not going to. What's her Insta? Just want to look. You won't share that with me? I find that very suspicious, honestly. Why not? When are you not telling me? I don't want to cause her any more confusion. Tell me. So that's one of them. So they go by they, them. This is the same grown man who groomed me from age 15. My entire high school experience was getting sexually groomed by a man I thought was mentoring me. Worst part, he's done so much worse to so many others. He's a violent criminal and there's no denying it anymore. Linking to my Facebook post again, this was the day I decided to tell everyone. I typed this up on my Facebook after finding out yet another person who Roiland was sexually inappropriate with. So today, this screenshot was sent to me by someone who knows about a situation I've been in since January 2016. This is something I've talked about a lot in the last couple of years. Although most of you aren't aware, I've made this up this way on purpose. I've avoided posting this on Facebook because it feels less private than using my smaller social media accounts. I've been afraid and embarrassed and ashamed. I want everyone to know this disgusting pervert, but I don't want to be connected with my own story. I want people to know he's not only a predator, but a criminal as well. But I didn't want this to be connected. I didn't want to remind anybody that I looked up to this person and trusted him like he was a mentor. What does this say about me? That's what I chose to look up to. Today, that I know that's all it means. Today, I know that's all it means is that I was a lonely, confused, and lost child, trying to make my transition into adulthood like we all do, and I thought I had the help of someone who really figured it out, at least from my perspective. Today, I know what happened was not my fault. I was a child. He was 39 years old. He's one of the ones who should have taken responsibility and not been predatory towards a child. Unfortunately, that is his thing. I'm one of hundreds. This screenshot is from someone who went through something similar with him, and this is the first time since I've come to terms with the appropriate situation that I encountered that I found someone else who's willing to talk publicly about what happened and to say his name. Justin Roiland, co-creator of Rick and Morty, co-owner of Squanch Games, and the full-on grooming predator. He first messaged me on Twitter in January 2016. After following me a while before that, I was 16 years old. He had been watching this account for a while. He even admitted to that. He had this friend, Christy, who I assume works and worked as a predatory scout for him, finding young girls who looked a certain way and trying to set up threesomes for herself and Justin. After briefly being told to me about Christy and how he found my account through her, he sends a separate message that reads, quote, "By the way, I'm not sure if I ever told you this, but I think you are insanely hot."
Clean up your room.
My reply was literally, "Thanks, I'm not even 18." And he just makes light of it with jokes and continues on. He mentions how he visits Relay ever so often for Squanch Games and that he would like to meet up with me next time he's in town. Being a huge R&E superfan at the time, I know, this was extremely exciting for me. Fast forward a few years, it's now 2019, and I've been texting back and forth every now and then for 3 years at the point that I consider him a fully good friend and mentor. I truly believed he had my best interests in mind, and I thought I was going to learn so much about entertainment and animation industries through him. It took me years to realize it was empty promises in an attempt to coerce me into a sexual relationship. June 2019, he sends me a text message saying he's finally going to be in town. If I wanted to meet up. Of course I said yes. I made plans to stay in Relay that weekend. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, aren't I? The days leading up to the next meeting, he kept texting me the same questions, conveniently forgetting my age so he could go, "Oh wow, so young, we gotta sneak you into bars," and just weird shit like that. He was texting in a way that made me feel like he was either super drunk or on a lot of drugs, so it was difficult to get any straight answers out of him and what plans were, and he kept trying to call me and Uber before I was even in town. Just weird things like that. He kept alluding that we would be hanging out in his office until the day before or the day of. Then he tells me it's a party. I asked him if it was a big party. "Oh no, just some employees," he said. It was like Squanch Games launch. I also asked if I needed to dress up because I was not planned for a party and I didn't bring any appropriate clothes, and he said, "No, wear comfortable clothes." I get there and everyone is suit and tie, sparkly dresses, the works. I'm in a crop top and jean shorts. Lamau. I don't want to get into details about the whole night right now, so much happened. I just want to touch on certain details. I will be talking about this more on from now on because I don't care anymore if he tries to sue me or fuck with me. He did this and people are going to be aware of his actions. I'm merely a vessel of information trying to protect children and young adults by telling my story. Don't know what else to do about it. Anyway, I did meet some really cool people, 2 of which I still talk to today, and I am beyond grateful for their support, but all my interactions with Justin that night were odd. By this time, he'd already done this with countless other underage girls. He'd already gotten into trouble years before, which is why I think he behaves the way he does now. He likes to pretend like he's protective teddy bear, harmless, peaceful, like he's overcompensating for his deviant, perverse actions towards young women. Example, all night he kept handing me small plates of appetizers saying, "Make sure you eat so you don't get too drunk," while simultaneously making sure I always had a drink, even when I had already explained that I didn't drink anymore at the time. I was going to have one drink, and by the end of the night, I'd lost count, but I stayed sober enough not to get into any more trouble than I already had. Somehow my experiences with underage drinking kind of saved me that night. Absolutely not condoning it. Underage drinking ruined my life too. If I didn't, I wouldn't have known how to handle my alcohol at the time. I would have been sexually assaulted. I know that for a fact. Here's where things get to be triggering. So if you are sensitive to the subject, please let me know. I'm going to talk about it next. All night, actually all week leading up to that night, he agreed that if anything intimate were to happen, it would just be us. TMI perhaps, but at the time I was very physically celibate. I was going through something separate, but he knew that. I told him multiple times that if anything were to happen, I need a lot of boundaries. He still asked a couple of times if he wanted to set up group sex with him. Each time I told him, "Bro, listen, Not listening, no. At first I was like, wow, this dude's cool. Polyamory is cool as hell. And soon it became very clear to me that this was not man interested in polyamory, but instead cheaply used the term as a shield to cover up the fact that he was just your average predatory pedophile who picks up people who are barely of age that look as young as possible so he can live out disgusting fantasies. Or in my case, he picks out actual high school children to groom until they are old enough that it won't make him look too much of a problem so that he can keep flying under the radar. Anyways, long story to wrap this up, he ended up bringing 2 other young women to the Airbnb with us, even though that was not our plan. He tried pressuring me to get drunk, but I was sobering up in case I needed to drive. He randomly showed us very violent porn of his ex-girlfriend getting rammed by a huge porn star. He pulled it up on the TV and everything. Odd choice, but okay. Glad to see you were dealing with that breakup healthily. Skipping ahead, he asked me to kiss one of the other women. My response was quite literally, well, I was going to, but now that a man has told me, unfortunately, I won't get to. Because he should have known. Don't tell me what to do, especially if it's to get you off. I'll make you bleed, that's about it. Anyways, the girls were clearly there to have a raunchy night, and as soon as I picked up on that, I tried to leave. The gals were sweet. I don't know anything about them. I'm sure they were just out to have a good night. He was extremely weird about me leaving. I kept trying to make me stay, but he'd already made it clear that I didn't respect anything I'd been telling him about my boundaries, which were very simple. So around 5 a.m. I started the 3-hour drive home, and I got lost about 40 minutes or so. Haha, my luck. It took me about a year to realize the depth of what would happen, and that what would have happened if I would have drank more. It took someone else pointing out the behavior that was creepy and inappropriate before I truly realized what I'd been through. This person was never my friend, not even for a moment. From day one, he was just training me. Since before day one, I was just another conquest to him. I think what hurts me most is the fact that it wasn't actually my friend. That and the fact that up to that point, I'd been so convinced that everything that had been happening was fine. Oh, it was so normal. After that, they'd all told me how mature I was for my age, that I had always heard from older men how fun I was to be around, how special I was, how smart I was, how much of an old soul I was. I was used to being looked up this way. Growing up, older men always loved me, always told me how pretty I was. How one day I was going to be a heartbreaker. Oh, the power I had, the power I thought I had, the false power that a patriarchal society instilled in me to make me feel safe and capable and full false sense of personal autonomy. No one could ever abuse me. How could they when I simply wouldn't allow it? I was powerful and treasured enough to be respected, right? Anything that happened to me, even if it was very bad, was very normal. How was I to know that was abnormal? My mother tried to teach me, but an individual can only judge normalcy based on their own observations about one's surroundings. I had to learn for myself. I believe that everyone there must be a prude and stuck up and offended by such sexual encounters. I rebelled again, so many social norms and certain forms of male-led sexual harassment just usually did not ping on my radar. So of course, all the normalized actions by random perverted men I had witnessed throughout the years gave me a false sense of confidence. Oh, they were just being inappropriate. Oh, they were appreciating me. Oh, he wasn't being predatory. I'm just desirable. And the worst, this is how a feminine person is supposed to get by in life. It sucks, it's not fair, but you perform or you perish. Finding this account and talking to someone who went through what I did, well, this is a huge victory. To have someone on my side who's also posting publicly about the pathetic tube of toxic processed meat is truly empowering. I once again have hope that one day everyone knows what Justin Roiland does. He will be known as a pedophile. He will be known as a pathetic jerk who breaks up unions at his own animation company. Oh, I didn't know about that one. He will be known that a creepy cartoon dude who preyed on your high school children. Stop supporting this man unless you are comfortable giving money to someone who uses that money to fly out little girls to his house and Airbnbs to get them drunk and have their way with them. Do not support pedophiles. More examples of Roiland being a pervert. Are you going to come alone? What the fuck is ginger beer? It's a good mixer. You're not going to try and rape me, are you? I think so. My friend will probably have classes to work on Thursday. Lemafau, bitch, no offense, but if you try anything, I will ruin your career. I'm not a creep, bitch. They keep getting weeded out, thank God. How old are you? 20? Aw, that is the worst. Wait, how old are you? Well, whatever. We can figure something out. Yeah, I have no ideas on what to do in reality, Lamau. I'm 39, dude. I'm gonna die in like a week. Oh shit, I'm still in my 20s, so mentally, whatever. Oh yeah, you are awesome. I want to hang out again. Hell yeah. I'm glad you want to hang again. I really appreciate you letting me use your parking pass and inviting me to the Squanch and everything that you... Lol, you're really nice. I appreciate you. Heart, I am so happy we got to meet and that you were as cool as you are. I can't believe we finally met and I really didn't think it would happen. Lol. So fun, but also I'm so jealous and like you have a lot of issues with sex, unfortunately. But fuck yeah, I hope you find someone like that. I'm sure you will. You should get to a sex therapist now while you're young. Sort that stuff out. Jealousy is going to conflict with your kinks. You're completely right, Lamau, but jealousy isn't really much of a problem with sex. It's more of an issue with trust, if that makes sense. More DMs. You're right. Do you have a boyfriend? I'm not interested in men. Do you have a girlfriend? Oh, you're not into guys. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I have an amazing girlfriend. You'd like her if you're into girls, unless that's not what you meant. Haha, sorry. Have I already told you that I think you're adorable? No, you haven't. I'm glad you think so. I'm hoping we can snag one of those releases more, basically walking distance. Yeah, the cool thing about Pass is that they never ID you once you have it. We should hang if I'm not too insanely fucked. We usually stay at the Hyatt and go for all the Adult Swim things. Yeah, totally. I'm not worried about what I get. Usually figured out. By the way, I just want to quickly interrupt in between all of this fucking wild shit. I know there's going to be a lot of people on the internet who go through all this and be like, well, at the same time, Lance, kind of seems like a bunch of people were using this as an opportunity to get into the industry, which is a very difficult industry to get into. So obviously there was stuff going on both ends. I mean, you know, Justin Roiland was bringing them out, and it does seem like it was for the intent of having pedophile sex. But, you know, in addition to that, there's a lot of people here who it really appears were trying to, you know, further their careers and, you know, get into the industry any way they could. And it's like, so that doesn't change the fact that he's both grooming and committing acts or trying to commit acts of pedophilia, you know, allegedly. I have to add to every single one of these. In addition to that, if it's like, okay, so what if we took that away? Okay, fine. Then Justin Roiland could have just not interacted with his fans at all. If it's like, okay, so he can't do that unless it's for sex, then don't do it at all. Then if you don't want to do the altruistic thing of like having to meet up with a bunch of fans and teach them the ropes and introduce them to the industry, if you don't want to do that, that's totally fair. That makes total fucking sense. After all, you probably have millions of fans. So if you don't want to run the Justin Roiland summer camp for people to be able to get into the industry to help uplift animators and shit, that's not your bag. You just want to make your cartoons. Fine, then just do that and stay the fuck away from the kids. You know, you could be like, oh, well, I mean, like, he's not obligated to help these people. He's not. And then don't. That's it. Then don't do that. If you're just doing it in order to be a fucking pedophile, groomer, creep, then, yeah, that's a major fucking problem, you know? Like, he could have just been the famous animator guy. The same thing with the Ren and Stimpy dude who did the exact same thing as this. The Ren and Stimpy guy groomed a whole bunch of girls. Yes, girls. Young girls as old as like 13, 14, 15 years old to like fucking, you know, come hang out and learn how to animate and stuff. And of course people are like, holy shit, you're the creator of Ren and Stimpy? You're trying to teach me this stuff? Sure, I don't feel like I'm going to be molested by you in the process. In the replies to these tweets, even more people shared similar stories involving Roiland. Apparently he has a reputation not just for busting unions, but also for having predilection for younger women. Goddamn, first Ren and Stimpy guy, now this. What is it about animation that can simultaneously produce the coolest people and the slimiest? We've acquired a healthy amount of skepticism regarding social media posts over the past decade, but I do remind readers that it can take victims of assault and predation a long time before they feel comfortable sharing or reporting their experiences. Often they don't tell anyone right away, either because they don't know how to define what happened, or because they feel nobody will believe them or support them or that will be helpful. A feeling unfortunate, validated by many highly visible instances in which this continues to happen. So when court records like these are made public, Twitter can become a very confident avenue for victim or survivor to finally share what they've been through. Number 3, in abuse cases, there's rarely any evidence beyond the testimony of the victim. And even with that, I mean, we saw what happened in the UK with Andrew Tate. It's like, okay, so we have the testimony of the victim, we have the testimony of a second victim, we have the testimonies of those victims corroborating, witnessing the sexual assault of each other, so they can actually testify to seeing each other being sexually assaulted. We have one of those people recording Andrew Tate admitting to the sexual and physical assault, and even then, that wasn't enough to bring it to a trial. It's like, okay, well, did you need actual, like, live video footage, like, live, not like, oh, well, we can't even know if this was doctored or not, so live streaming video footage of him committing the crime? Is that what's required? Ultimately, it's so hard to predict how court cases like these will pan out, especially since we don't have a lot of public evidence to work with. I like to think things will end in a way that brings some peace to the defendant. But domestic abuse court hearings have a notoriously poor track record. All the same, I'll be keeping my fingers crossed. In the meantime, you're probably wondering, what about Rick and Morty? Good question. This is a weird one. This, I'll agree, I don't know what's going to happen here, because Rick and Morty, it's the first, like, billion-dollar franchise that Adult Swim has ever had. It's like, they've already got, like, I think, an outrageous episode order. They have endless amounts of fucking consumer products, toys, slippers, clothing, cereal, video games, you name it. Like, I would be, I don't know. So this is a combination of both. This is so horrifyingly bad, these multiple accusations, combined with the fact that, again, this is someone who is so powerful within that network. Like, Adult Swim doesn't have another property like Rick and Morty. You know, it's like, it's their Simpsons. On the other hand, animation is a different ballpark. Dan Harmon is also involved as a showrunner. While Harmon himself has been guilty of some wild and weird stuff in the past, he's also proven to be pretty outspoken on issues he cares about, as well as capable of apologizing sincerely for his misgivings. I have a hard time seeing him stick up for Roiland here. Same. But again, anything can happen. There's a good chance the show will keep running with or without Roiland, because even the animation is part of the old boys club of television, which is also true. Venture Brothers bring it back. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the Venture Brothers, right? As far as we know. This is the other Justin Roiland one. On September 2015, Justin Roiland followed me on Twitter. I was 16. Of course, I was excited because I loved Rick and Morty at the time. So I messaged him first, and we started talking every now and then. Some of it was very casual, but some parts were 100% weird. Only a few messages in what he said. Bear in mind, I was 16 and very obviously looked young. In fact, I looked even younger than 16. Jesus Christ. Blonde hair and braces. I was just seen as a fantasy to most. It's hard to read this. What's it like in the UK? Oh God, looking at your pictures, I know why I followed you. I thought you were super cute, but I did not think you were so young. I'm 16. He knew that I shouldn't have been talking. He knew that he shouldn't have been talking to me, but was excited. But the excited fangirl in me tweeted a screen cap of one of our convos. Tweeted screen caps of our chats. Haha, you silly. Don't be weird. I'll delete it. You don't have to delete that one. Haha. This is us having conversations about the character from Rick and Morty, Jessica, where he first nicknamed me Jailbait. Yeah, 14 or 15, I would say. Yeah, she's Jailbait, I guess. It's strange. I look at the characters as being older, but they're not. Same. You are Jailbait yourself, though, so that is true. Jailbait, and then the shame gif. Here's some more odd messages. These are really hard to read, so I'm not going to speculate. At the time, I told him I wanted to be a YouTuber, and he suggested I started cam whoring at 18 and saying he wants to meet me. Hi, Jailbait, I'm super drunk. We spoke on KIK briefly, and he wanted to hear me speak. I sent him a video of me walking around school, just talking random stuff at the camera. He was wasted at the time, and he sent me a transcription of everything I said in the video and said he couldn't stop listening to it. It's absolutely crazy to me there are so many girls out there who've experienced the same thing with him. He has been doing the rounds for years. I haven't been able to watch the show since 2018 because it just made me ill. The worst part about it was I kind of cared about him. We had a slightly deeper convo, but I don't feel the need to post those. I actually pitied him for his fame and used to tell him that he hated himself. So... obviously more just holy fuck, what the fuck, shit, obviously allegations at this time, but yeah, in terms of Rick and Morty, I mean, like, there is no Rick and Morty without Justin Roiland. The man voices the two principal characters in the show. I mean, maybe you replace him and that's the joke. Or they do, you know, the show that loves being meta does a whole meta thing about how both Rick and Morty have to be arrested in some other planet for being pedophiles. I don't know, but it's like, yeah, it's absolutely fucked. Like, you know, this one especially is just actually making me fucking disgusted to have to sit through and listen about. Obviously, yes, these are all accusations, but it seems like, once again, it's someone who one story comes out publicly in the news, and then lo and behold, a whole bunch of victims feel safe coming forward and being like, so yeah. And yes, not all of those were direct accusations of either, you know, things like sexual assault, even though they are a lot of accusations of grooming, and a lot of, you know, if those text messages are true, a lot of direct evidence of grooming. But even then, like, if someone is like, oh, well, you know, I just really liked him and I wanted to be friends with him and I DM'd him, even though full well knowing that I was 15, yeah, the fault is still 100% on Justin Roiland, you know? Even if like, you're like, oh, well, those people also wanted to, like, get into the industry. So what? That doesn't mean that they deserve to be groomed or molested by Justin Roiland. That's not, well, one thing, other thing, no. Like... Like, if true, this is all fucked. He should face criminal charges. He should be in jail for fucking being a pedophile, you know? It's bizarre victim blaming beyond relief, because, like, you can't even use your weird ass angle where it's like, well, this was pretty much just done for the fame. I was like, well, no, it wasn't the first part for the fame. Weren't they originally just even in contact for the fame? And then what, they want to double their fame now by coming out and being like, yeah, he's actually a huge creep. Here's all the evidence and texts and all that kind of shit. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm guessing for some Rick and Morty fans, this may be more devastating than it is for me, someone who's kind of like, I wrote the show off already. But obviously, yet another case of this being a very prevalent offender, allegedly, and no one's saying shit about it. You know, no one in the industry talking about it. Not a peep. And apparently the abuse part was known. It's like you get to a certain point, you get a show, it's on Adult Swim, and it's their first $1 billion franchise, and boom. You know, let's just settle your criminal charges, Justin, and then you just lead a normal life. Don't have any more stories come out. Some of the allegations were shared months before the news was abuse charges. Oh, so some of these were already made public, but no one was paying attention because just random Twitter accounts at the time. I guess this was posted. Well, no, this one was on January 12th. So it's this one. The time frame of these allegations are supported by writer and producer Jordan Crucchiola, who shared that journalists have been working on reports against Roiland for some time. This incident allegedly occurred in 2020, says Crucchiola, referring to Roiland's charges. I know journalists who have pursued stories with him for years before that. There are more women, there are more stories. Others across Twitter shared that they were aware of the allegations being levied against Roiland, even though they are not their stories to tell. It has been previously claimed that the environment while working at Roiland shows Rick and Morty and Solar Opposites was hostile, with accusations of bigoted behavior and overworking. Roiland is still waiting for a date to be set for the next court appearance. None of his employees have commented on the charges or the allegations at the time of the writing. Roiland has pled not guilty. The charges he faces are domestic battery, blah, blah, blah. I agree with that first article. I don't see Dan Harmon rushing to his defense in this case. Dan Harmon, who's already, done a lot in his own right to try and speak out against this kind of shit after, using a position of power to try and get a relationship out of someone, and then rightly condemning that, and then kind of being an example for people doing the right thing in that regard. But hey, no one surprises me anymore.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback, because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Juste, we shall spend many a generations building mighty cathedrals in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your oafish jesters, here to offer you a laugh at any opportunity. To our brave knights of the Round Table, Rachel K., Izzy Solidarity, Victoria Bell, Sebastian Demmel, Mark Harmon, Benji Arney, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Everything Important, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Doug Cady, Daniel Sutton, Jenna Tal, Dark Puppy, Quiet One 85, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, Multimondi, Trevbot EXE, Brian Ephraim, Anthropophojack, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Ralph Parler, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Todd Buckingham, and Todd La Jeunesse. We salute our valiant heroes off to fight injustice everywhere.